So on dating apps, I feel like a lot of older men, like 40s and up, will put on their profile, no kids, never married. And I feel like I don't think that's the flex that they think it is. Because for me, I'm like, you're telling me no woman, not one, wanted to marry you or have kids with you? So on dating,
So this is not just, I think whenever you go to Instagram, you go to TikTok, you're going to see a bunch of people just it's an echo chamber. But we got to the place where we don't recognize men have discernment, men have choice, men are going to be able to decide and say whether something is good for them or bad for them. If a man navigated all that way, the natural assumption is no one ever wanted you. Rather, it can't be the same way as saying a woman is at that age. Most women are going to say that you've avoided all the red flags. You were smart. You had discernment. You made sure no one could take advantage of you. Well, men are, especially younger men, are coming up and saying, yeah, I see the outcomes that are plaguing a lot of men who choose the wrong partner. We often say the most important decision you're going to make is who you spend your life with. So there's eventually, we can all of a sudden, eventually, men are going to start to understand and say, I better take heed to this and vet whoever I'm spending my time with. They're going to be careful. They're going to take their time. And sometimes that means simply exiting situations that don't suit them. If we're going to make the assumption that somehow it's bad for them, it's bad for men, or it's now the new red flag for them to be in their 40s and never married, no kids, or either or, then that's somehow the new red flag. Well, we're going to have to, like, honestly just push back with something like this and say, no, if a man chooses not to be with a woman, that's not a red flag. It's not commitment issues. Sure, it can be, but the automatic assumption, because we have this negative bias towards men in general, just makes people believe that that you would rather be in your 40s, have failed relationships, have failed marriages, have kids that you were estranged from, and that is then more acceptable. That's more the norm. I think we need to sometimes take a step back from social media, uh, touch grass, and have an actual idea of what we're trying to say. And I get sometimes it's just about even up the playing field. We would make it seem like it's if it's bad for women to do that, then it's bad for men to do that. But we all understand that there are double standards at play here. So before we continue, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new uploads. Still trying to do 2 a day. If you haven't seen my face for a while and you are an OG subscriber, shout out to you. But OG subscriber is like since June of 2025. So still, I appreciate you. Appreciate you guys, young, the new subscribers, the old subscribers. Appreciate you guys. Um, Trying out this new mic. Hopefully the sound quality will even out. If it's not, give me some feedback. Let me know, and I can make adjustments. It's going to be a thing going forward. Trying to get it right. But let me play this one back so we can go over it one more time.
apps, I feel like a lot of older men, like 40s and up, will put on their profile, no kids, never married. And I feel like I don't think that's the flex that they think it is.
I think sometimes people aren't looking to necessarily have things be a flex. They're simply trying to say what the current status quo is. They're trying to say if these things are hot button topics as we decide they are by social media, by what our interests or where our interests lie. Well, let me get ahead of that, especially if these are things that become common questions on dating apps or in actually on a date. If you have these, it's sometimes just giving information out the way. It's not about I'm trying to show that I'm better. Like some people in their photos showing off Rolexes and cars, and no, sometimes it's just like this is currently what it is. I would like if people took it and said, okay, this person might have some sort of sense, might some have some sort of discernment, might also know that they're not going to rush into something just because they're older, just because they're single. I think it's fair when we make assumptions towards a negative, like she did, like it's an ick. We should also take the time to make assumptions the other way. That way, at least we can have some sort of even out, be in some even out sort of plane, even if there's cheats and bias one way or another. I would like to believe that the new age, new crop of men coming up simply watched a lot of their friends, a lot of their family engage with the wrong person and see how it was detrimental to all lives involved, not just theirs, not just kids, not just, their ex-wife or, you know, baby mama. To see that cycle of trauma and hurt, and now you have more men simply saying, I'm not going to engage in that. If I can't do it the way I envisioned, then I don't want to do it at all. I think that should be something that we look at and say, maybe that's a little noble, a little more noble than we're given credit for, rather than being very quick to just say it's something it's a new ick, it's a new red flag. Speaking towards that, I think it's obvious we have a very negative bias towards men in general, on social media or in media in general, and it's one of those things that I don't think that we are very cognizant of how much it affects the male psyche. Not in terms of, I'm saying, so self harm, but that may be a thing, but in the withdrawal from men from society. I think that's a link. There's a link there, tenuous or otherwise. There's a real link there that when men are constantly hearing how unwanted or how painful their existence is to larger society, how unnecessary they are, or when they do something they deem as right, they're lumped in with they're painting with the large swath, just saying that the bad guys. We saw the evidence of that with the Me Too movement. We can acknowledge that they're absolutely bad actors. That they're bad actors, and we're keeping it with men. We're not going to go to both sides thing. They're bad actors amongst men, right? But those bad actors, I should not be held to the lowest standard of men, of black men, if I have not done those things. But when you paint with that wide brush, because we're overly concerned with protection, a lot of people get caught up in that. Understanding that, understanding that there's very little room for grace in that scenario, because we saw the fallout of that, of people being accused and then later on those things sort of being redacted. The redaction is never front page news. It's always later, later, later. And the results of that accusation, the cancel culture, the people being doxxed, losing their livelihood, families being torn apart, lives being ruined, and an apology doesn't really do anything for that. Men have just simply said, okay, they're going to be either indifferent bystanders or simply withdraw. I think posts like this, even when it just seems fun, it seems the thing to do on TikTok, on social media, what ends up happening, men see it and they say, okay, this is the secret insight into how you feel about us. So if no kids, no marriage is now a red flag, do you think that men are either going to now engage with women more just to simply have a child, have a failed marriage, just to become more desirable, or they're just going to take yet another foot away from engagement and altogether? If we're complaining about men not coming up to women at all, what do you think rhetoric like this makes happen? But look, if you think I missed something, let me know down in the comments. If you see videos on your screen, so hopefully you do. I'm doing my job well. Let me know what you think about those as well. And if the sound quality is better, let me know. I'll bump up this mic to the primary one and continue doing whatever testing I can. And of course, you listen to sound my voice, and hopefully you can hear it. You have subscribed. You can subscribe and then let me know why you did. I'll see you guys in the next one.